How'd you go? Eggs? Eggs? I'm doing pancakes. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. He does a worldwide blog on the internet,
Broadcasting.
broadcasting and stuff. He's got a very good voice. Yeah. Thank
Oh,
you.
good. Thank you. Oh,
Hey,
that's
it's not
for?
for you.
I know what it's for, though.
It's not for you. It's
What
for
a-
me.
Do you want a cigarette? Do you smoke ciggies? Okay.
Hey, you don't have to wait.
Would you like a drink or anything?
No, okay.
Have a tea, coffee?
I'm on a show now.
Have a tea, coffee?
I'm drinking a show for now, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We're gonna have
Nice tea. Thank you, ma'am.
huh? He said thank you, didn't he? Yeah, to her. Yeah. Thank you so much for. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks for saying 15 minutes. Someone check the fucking.
I was staying awake for you. Oh my god, why call me this hour, you weirdo?
Thank you. Welcome to 1873 FM.
Hello?
Today,
Hey,
my
what are you
topic
doing
is
up this late?
Reconstruction Act. So I'm waiting for my guest.
Yeah. Did I wake you up just then? What's wrong?
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Mawere.
Yeah, how are you?
Good things yourself. How are
Yeah.
you? Let me start by apologizing. I had a scheduled show with you,
Are you able to do it outside?
and I missed the show. I'm sorry on that one.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Mr. Mawere. So now I have another show right now, and I'm waiting for my special guest, Tonio, who's an editor for Tech Magazine. I
Hello?
would like to, hello, I'm saying to you, I have another show
Yeah,
now.
how are you?
Good things yourself.
Yeah.
How are you? Let me start by apologizing. I had a scheduled show with you,
Are you able to do it outside?
and I missed the show. I'm sorry on that one.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Mr. Mawere. So now I have another show right now, and I'm waiting for my special guest, Tonio, who's an editor for Tech Magazine. I
Hello?
would like to, hello, I'm saying to you, I have another show right
Yeah,
now.
how are you?
Good things yourself.
Yeah.
How are you? Let me start by apologizing. I had a scheduled show with you,
Are you able to do it outside?
and I missed the show. I'm sorry on that one.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Mr. Boy. So now I have another show right now, and I'm waiting for my special guest, Tonio, who's an editor for Tech Magazine.
Hello?
Hello, I'm saying to you, I have another show right
Yeah,
now.
how are you?
Good things yourself. How are you? Let me start by apologizing. I had a scheduled show with you,
Are you able to do it outside?
and I missed the show. I'm sorry on that one.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Mr. Boy. So now I have another show right now, and I'm waiting for my special guest, Tonio, who's an editor for Tech Magazine. Hello, Mr. Bawere.
Hello? There's some background.
Hello, Mr.
Yeah,
But my echoes and what's going on?
I don't know. Hello?
Just a second. Just a second.
Ah, sorry. Okay. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Bawere. Hello, Mr. Bawere.
Yeah, no, I can hear you now.
Yep, there was a background sound. Okay, Mr. Bawere,
Yeah,
let me send you this audio, please. I would like you to play it, please. I just got
all
it
right.
today.
I messaged him. I said, "Is Joey okay? I heard he had an accident."
Okay, I got it now.
And he replied,
Here we go.
"Yeah, but he doesn't know whose car he's driving. I haven't told Alex. Sorry, Adam. I didn't tell him."
Please, let's start by this audio. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. Let me.
Then someone is saying my viewers akadzikira. Mr. Mawere, as my viewers akadzikira mdana.
It's if you are chasing my viewers, then it's fine. I got thinking, but what is the object?
Mm-hmm.
So what movie did you watch?
Okay. Yeah, I'm playing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go deeper. Namkoma Masim.
I'll mute my device. Can you please also mute your device?
Kana ndichiti go deeper. Ndinomborevei. Kana ndichiti go deeper. Ndinongoreva kuti.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. M.
Yeah, let me play again.
Okay, thank you.
go deeper na mkoma masimba. Muri Zimbabwe. Kana ndichiti go deeper. Ndinomborevei. Kana ndichiti go deeper. Ndinongoreva kuti muupenyu hwatinorarama ngatingofungei mbijana. Haikona stereki mbijana. Nasi uno pa go deeper na mkoma masimba. Toda kumbotipisa pfungwa na mtumwa mawere. Mutumwa mawere. Ndida kubvunzawo iwe wakateerera. Paunonzwa kuti mutumwa mawere unofungei muri Zimbabwe. Ndisati ndava kudhipisa pfungwa. Each time ndangozwa kuti mutumwa mawere ndaifunga Shabani mine akaba mari akadya neZANU-PF akatiza akaenda kuSouth Africa akauraya nyika akakanyana neve muZANU-PF. Ko iwewe uri kuteererawo paunonzwa kuti mutumwa mawere unofungei? Ko paunonzwa kuti Shabani Mashava mine unofungei? Yakabrokeswa namawere akadya mari ndewe ZANU-PF muri Zimbabwe. I'm simply encouraging you to go deeper. I have been following Mutumwa Mawere for the last couple of months. I have learned a lot from Mutumwa Mawere. So today I've decided to do a go deeper on Mutumwa Mawere. I used to think the same way that you might be thinking. Muri Zimbabwe, you have to be very careful. Mutumwa Mawere taught me one thing. In whatever I do, I should have facts. You too, whatever you do, whatever you say, always have facts to support your words. I've learned that if you have facts, bring your facts on the table. I will also bring my facts. Let our facts fight. Murubanzwa muri Zimbabwe. Ndakadzidza zvese ndafollowa ndichiteerera dzidziso naMr. Mutumwa Mawere. Nasi uno ndambodhipisawo pfungwa pana Mutumwa Mawere. Vazhinji, the first question you ask, I used to ask that question. Are you ZANU-PF? I've learned a lot from Mr. Mutumwa Mawere. Vakati ZANU-PF haasi munhu ba. That question kutuka. Ndikutaura newe iwewe masimba. Ini ndine maziso, ndine nzeve, ndine muromo. Unditi are you ZANU-PF? Unomborevei. Ndiri Mutumwa Mawere, I am not ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is a political party. Muri Zimbabwe. Nasi uno ndadecide kuita dedicate some of the people vakandidzidzisa kufunga. Iwo vakadzidzawo zvakawanda kwandiriwo. Nasi ndachuza Mutumwa Mawere, a great man, full of dzidziso, someone who's willing to even talk to you. All you have to do, you bring your facts. Muri Zimbabwe. Chikomo chiremerera chavari kure, vari pedyo vanotamba nacho. Tine vanhu vakuru in terms of experience, makore avo, vari willing to engage isu vechidiki. I'm simply encouraging you too to go deeper. Please bring all your questions. Like the page Mutumwa D. Mawere. Sometimes I need my live videos for Zimbabwe today. Also follow him for 1873 FM. He's based in South Africa. Vangani vedu South Africa. Do you know in South Africa imomo mune radio station yakavhurwa imomo nevapana vechidiki maZimbabweans who are based in South Africa. Panodzidziswa, especially vada kudzidza. University students, please, I'm inviting you to like page Mutumwa Mawere and follow that, mean you learn a lot. In Zimbabwe, tine vanhu vari willing to share knowledge and also accept your facts. Right? Muri Zimbabwe, ndakanyara nenyaya yekungoshama muromo. after Mutunga Mawere explained the whole issue.
Not
Mr. Boyre,
more than others. Some people more than. Mum, do you keep your
Hello?
eggs in the fridge or do you keep them on the bench?
Well, either doesn't matter to me.
I usually keep them in the fridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know how to tell if they're off?
Yes. Put them in.
hello?
Water.
Yep. And
And
see
if
if it
it's
sinks or floats.
Sink or floats. If it
Yes.
sinks, it's bad.
No, sinks good.
It sinks.
Float bad.
Bad,
Because
yep.
bad air, bad egg.
And sometimes. I'm sorry.
Hello?
I don't know, so just bring it out. It's okay. If you have that in your hand, like, if you
What do you make it? What do you do? Huh? What is that? Christine dinner?
Hello?
You can't do two things at once.
Check me. Turn me off.
You can't
Hello?
do two things like women can.
Yes, yeah. Welcome to the show.
I'm a laugh. I'm Excuse me, Mum. Can you please put this in the sink to
Yeah.
be washed and I'll do
Yeah,
it?
that's right. Later.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
There was 8 of us. And 24/7, 2 of us dealing. Me, I didn't have to.
Let's go on the video.
Well, it's 7:50 earlier. So for 10 minutes, it's going to be less. 5 grand. You have a choice. Well, what do you pay normally?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Moire.
All right, you can go ahead.
Technic, are you here, Tonio?
Yes, I'm
Thank you
here.
very
Can you
much.
guys hear me?
Okay, once again, welcome to 1873 TV. And today, our topic, which is my topic, is very simple. Reconstruction Act. My special guest is Tonio from Technic and Mr. M. Mawere as an example. Thank you very much. Mr. M, you can go ahead.
No, I think we were discussing before, and you wanted to have a conversation with Toneo Ritsito, who is based in Zimbabwe. There are areas that he may not know, although he's in the media industry.
Yep.
Maybe for the purpose of your show, he can introduce himself, and then people, your audience, to know who he is and what he's doing.
Yes, hi. Greetings to all our viewers, and I think more importantly, Mkoba Masimba, Mr. Mchungwa Mawere, and I don't know who Bhukure is it a name? Is it one of the guests that we have there? Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity that you just presented to me. Oh yeah, my name is Tonio. I'm the editor-in-chief for a local online broadcasting TV that's called TechMake TV. And of course, I've been following the latest developments as far as the the Recon Act and the SMM issues are concerned. And yeah, so this is who I am. This is what we do. We are in an online broadcasting platform based here in Zimbabwe. We do news, various news, and we are excited to make this follow-up, and you need to have a better understanding as far as this issue is concerned. I understand that the Recon Act has been going on for many years now, and obviously I think there are many companies that have been affected by it as far back as, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 10 or 15 years back. And most guys of our age were actually toddlers when these things were happening. So I think it's very, very important that we also reconnect with the audience, specifically people from my age group and joiners as well, from our dispensation, should I say, or our generation, who probably now get to have a hearsay on all these things. You know, it actually occurred whilst most of us were actually very young. So it's very important to also have that in mind, so that we reflect back with that in mind. But I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And my brother, I'm writing a book. My book is #BhukuReBenzi. I have an agenda. My book, I'm looking for my mother. That is the title of my book. The word mother is very broad. Who is this mother? It's a very broad term. I have my biological mother. I have also other mothers who are not my biological mothers, who looked after me. Yeah, my mother taught me anyone who's old enough to be my mother is a mother. So I've got lots of mothers. My book has got mentors. I've got mentors. One of my mentors is here, Mr. Mawere. I met him on Facebook. I met him by provoking him with intention of proving that I know more than him about his life. By engaging with him, I learned a lot.
Mum,
Example, the
what's that
SMM
noise
story.
again?
Thank God,
There, scratching noise.
today we are discussing about a law which is in Zimbabwe. I'll give you a background about the law. I'm very angry. In my book, I'm angry.
Mkwama Simba,
Yes.
the video, no one is showing on the video.
Okay.
Yeah, videos are blocked.
check.
I think we are not doing that
Yeah.
to our visuals in the
Just
online.
put your video on. It should be on your side.
Yes.
Is that so?
Wait.
I can't see you.
No,
I can't see you.
Okay.
But
no, your
I
video.
mean, just put your video there.
Like mine. Mine is back.
Yeah, you are back. Can you also bring me back?
Okay. Are you?
I don't know. What are you doing, my shoulder, please, baby? Hello.
Yeah, I'm back now. It's always good to see the faces behind the voices. Much better.
But there's an echo now. There's a big echo.
On your side, or what?
Hello?
I think there's do you have two devices that are connected?
Now I'm fine, I think.
I think I'm fine. I don't know if you're still getting an echo. Are you still getting an echo?
Now it's okay.
Mr. Masimba, is he good as well? Because I don't have any echo.
No, he's on mute. Yeah, it's break. Hello?
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 Hi.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wear my mask down here, right? But I still have it with me.
Hello?
Face shield.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So, Tonio,
Breathe better.
in my book, But I don't know. I can hear echoes from my side. I can hear myself.
You got two devices.
Two devices.
Thank you.
Yeah. Who's the other fourth guest? I think someone else is touching on behind.
Oh, this one here. Darling, you're disturbing me. Sure. Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to Australia. BhukuReBenzi. Munezvese.
I see you. Yeah, that other device is gone. Do you still have an ego? It's gone? Can you still hear me, Mr. Mawere?
It's gone? Okay, he's gone. Yeah, okay, let's see whether he comes back.
I hope he comes back. It looks like he was busy just before he left.
Yeah, he's back.
I hope he makes a comeback.
Hello?
Oh, you are back.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thought
yes, my brother. Yeah, welcome to BhukuReBenzi. No BhukuReBenzi. This is Papa Ambuya. Like 2 days names kana chidana. Don't Papa Ambuya. I be a boyfriend wakati kana pa side. No BhukuReBenzi rajiro. I'm dream show. No BhukuReBenzi rajiro. So anyway.
Yes.
Most of the Europe newspaper when
you are a man of serious action. For now, I'll end there. But yes, please, for the benefit of our viewers, we may resume and get back to the show and get back straight to business. So yeah, so we just keep it back. Welcome back.
So BhukuReBenzi again, I'm angry. There's the angry part in denial. I'm angry at what? I'm angry at the law in Zimbabwe, the Reconstruction Act. This law, it was Patrick Chinamasa. By then, he was the Justice Minister. I'm angry because by BhukuReBenzi, I'm also inviting Chinamasa. Since he's still alive, I want to learn a lot from him. So, Mr. Patrick Chinamasa, Bapinda BhukuReBenzi. BhukuReBenzi. So, what I understand, Chinamasa he went to capture President Mugabe, right, presidential powers, right? He was a minister. Then he told or he convinced the president the only way could SMMAD, Irarami, we have to capture the SMM again. So the way to capture BhukuReBenzi, my brother, it's not to capture, even Chinamasa na capture Sakari. To capture means na anyway, nakubata, right? Nakubata une value yako. So I want to see that value. No BhukuReBenzi basically. So remember lessons whereby I'm just showing my mother, Mama, I'm on my way back. And with the first thing I get, right? Then I went on to approach Mr. Mawere. So BhukuReBenzi is really broad, but let's go back to our topic, the Reconstruction Act. Do you understand anything about this, or have you heard about it? I want to hear your side of the story before we start engaging.
Yes, the Reconstruction Act was an act that was established by the then Minister of Justice. Do I have an echo? Am I okay?
Yes, you're okay.
Okay, no, nice, fine. So the Recon Act was an act that was established by the then Minister of Justice, Chinamasa, which was intended to safeguard Zimbabweans or the Zimbabwean environment from businesses that were perceived to have gone bankrupt or insolvent, and the government and had borrowed money from the government and the state. I don't know whichever way that applies best. And so they actually put up an act that says that any company that may have borrowed money from the state or the government or whichever, or government-owned company must then be put under curatorship of certain government arms, or I'm actually trying to think of the right word, like a curator. Yeah, so that's when this law was established, and that was the thinking of the government, to say, if we feel that a certain company has borrowed money from the government or from a state-owned enterprise, the government then has to be involved and takes over the management of that company up until it returns the loan or the funds that it may have borrowed. I think that's the general understanding that I may have around that issue. Are you still there?
It seems to be. It seems now good. It seems to be stuck there. It seems to be frozen.
Yeah, I see his page is frozen.
Yeah, he's back here. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening, guys, and I'm also doing other things, but I'm listening.
Okay. Tuneo, have you seen the Reconstruction Act?
Well, honestly, I haven't actually managed to go through the whole Recon Act in total, but I think what I've just managed to do is I've managed to go through some certain judgments that were made according to the Recon Act. But the actual act in its entirety, I think I've just browsed some few pages. I think also mainly because of maybe lack of interest along it. I really didn't get through and manage to browse it in total.
So you may be talking about something that you may have no interest at all, because it occurred some time before you were in the business of knowing.
You have kindly put it across. I saw you were very careful. I saw you were very careful in the choice of your words there, but I guess that's acceptable.
If I told you that in the act there is no word called state, would you be surprised?
I'll be very much surprised, because the way I understand this operation, the Recon Act makes state it implies that state should take over certain entities they deem unfit or risky. Yeah.
Let's say go to interpretation number 3. In this act, the act means the chapter, the Companies Act, and then you have a company, you have definition credit, you have member public funds, reconstructed company, reconstruction order, and state, you have scheme of reconstruction, state-controlled company, state-indebted company, statutory corporation. Do you agree that under S, there's nothing called state?
Mm-hmm.
So how can you be indebted to something that is not defined?
It brings a very interesting question right there, because I'm not seeing any definition of state, or maybe when they made that act of law, they generalized that part. I'm not so sure. I'm not the person to be responding to why there is no state, yet there is state indebted in their definition.
So I'm saying is, Mr. Mugari, good evening. Have you read the Reconstruction Act, Mr. Mugari?
Yes, I did. Good evening, Ms. Mawere. Yes, I did. Times Without Number, gone through the Reconstruction Act and most of the chapters within the Act.
did you ever come across a definition of the state?
No, I didn't.
And Mr. Rutsito, do you agree that for the act itself, the citation is the Reconstruction of State-Indebted Insolvent Companies Act?
Correct.
So you must be a company. Do you agree?
Yes.
Sorry, panic device with a noise.
Yeah.
Just put it in the container and put together.
Oh, good. Then, Mr. Moore, before continue, Vamugari, ndiani Vamugara, and Devapi, BhukuReBenzi. Vamugari, welcome to BhukuReBenzi. Okay.
Yeah.
Simba, you doing a vlog now?
I'm patient.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm
Vamugari,
just gonna ask
thank
if
you.
you go out.
Then, number 2, Panama keywords are repopanaba. Indebted, insolvent. There's no the word indebted, insolvent. Maybe Vamugari can help me there.
Okay, I think the question to ask first is what was exactly in the minds of the people who sat down to think and say we need to come up with an act, but this act we are going to give it this name, and we are going to include indebtedness. But the question to ask first before I respond to you is, how can an individual or how can a company be indebted to, how can I be indebted to the state? Number one, what is the state and what is the company? I think we need to know all those things so that we understand if one can be indebted to the state, or if an individual or a company can be indebted to the state, and in what way. So the minds behind the Reconstruction Act sat down and say, we need to say indebted, and you say insolvent. That someone you have owed, or you are owing the state, or you are indebted to the state, and you have to divest your property rights, your rights, because you are indebted to the state. Like you are indebted to me, then I'll come to you, Mkoma Masiba, then and say, I am taking your wife. The wife, you personally, you went to pay lobola at your in-laws, and you go through the wedding, and you have been with your wife for quite a long time. Then I come to you to say, Mkoma Mazimba, you are indebted to the state. I'm not even the state. Then I'll say you are indebted to the state. Hence, I'm coming to take your wife. Remember, the minister, it is the minister of justice who was behind this. Is the minister of justice the state? This is also the question I want to answer. Is the minister of justice is also the state? Because I cannot come to you to say, Mkoma Masimba, I'm coming to take your wife because you are indebted to the state. Who am I? Am I the state? I'm only an individual. A minister is an individual. A minister is a servant who is serving the people. But if I come to you to say I'm taking your wife because, so we need to understand what was in the minds of the people who were behind this law from the beginning in 2004, when they say, let's term these words, insolvent and indebtedness.
Mr. Mkari, thank you very much. I can see you are angry, but I've asked you a very simple question. What is indebted? What is insolvent?
I think Mkoma Masimba, your mic is very bad. I think Mkoma Masimba is a very bad.
It's not Mkoma Masimba, it's
Hello?
Elvis. It's Elvis.
It's Elvis.
Mike. Yeah.
Okay, now Mkoma Masimba again. Mr. Mugari, I asked you a very simple question. What is
I'm
indebted?
struggling.
What is insolvent?
Masimba.
I think his mic, there's a problem with his mic.
Hello? Hello?
There's a problem with his mic.
To your question, Mkoma Masimba, it is obvious that in the minds of the people who came up with this law, the architecture of this law, they believe that the state exists as a contracting power. And that is why they said to use the state indebted to be appropriate, because because they deemed or they viewed the state as the contracting power, the contracting power. So that was, I think, they were behind this concept. Hence, they come up with the word state-indebted.
I'm Gary, slow down, Papa, slow down. The BhukuReBenzi. Kuti me, I'm Gary. The word indebted means the word insolvent. That's a simple question, I'm Gary.
Indebted.
Fuck's sake.
Right. I think to me, in respect with with this act, as I've been explaining, maybe my mic was muted. I'm still on the comment. Let me go back a bit. I was saying we need to understand one thing. When the minds behind this law set down in 2004 to come up with the law, the Reconstruction Act, they sit down and say we need to come up with 2 words so that we make this law a law, or this statutory instrument we have to achieve its goals. So it means if you are indebted to me, it means you are owing me something. So in this case, as I said, they viewed the state as a contracting power. So the idea is a person or a company can be indebted to the state, to the contracting power. A person can owe a contracting power, which is the state in this case, according to the minds of the architecture of this law.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But answer questions
Yeah.
like you answered me, because it's simply a data. The word data, the word indebted, talk about data. Because BhukuReBenzi, I also try to simplify things in the Mbenge jargon as well, as we move on. Are you getting me, my brother? Because those are big words now. That's like what I watch. With the data chat, our bonds we see somebody. So I'm trying to warn you with jargon. You can just simplify it because it's BhukuReBenzi, right? It's BhukuReBenzi. So jargon I'm getting a bit simple. In the word insolvent now, insolvent. Mlorona said maybe. Mlorona said chikwereti. Kutaza kukundikana. At not my dates. Kukundikana. So that alphabet. So they were talking about this act now. Go ahead, but now I can see you're angry. Anyway, let me hand over to Techmake. Take over, my brother. You are a journalist. Tabokpanyanga.
I was saying, I think I wanted to take us back for us to understand one thing. I wanted to take us back to the background of this law, how it started.
Okay, Mamgari. It's okay. Start again. That's your presentation. But take me there.
No, it's fine. Let him finish off. He had a burning pending question. So I would allow Mamgari so that you just finish off your statement. Lest we quench your fire down. So I think I'll come just after you. Go ahead, Mr. Mungari.
I think we need to understand the reason why, the then Minister of Justice, Patrick Chinamasa, invoked presidential powers to come up with this act. And from the beginning, we need to understand that this act was there. And actually, he invoked the presidential power and the statutory 100 and come up with the statutory 187 of 2004. And he wanted specifically to deal with the issues of Shaban Mashawa mine. So they sat down and invoked the presidential powers In mind, they were saying, no, the SMM then by 2004 is owing the state. And we have to divest, but we cannot just do that. We have to come up with a law. However, to come up with a law, we have to provoke the presidential powers. And they come up with statutory instrument 187. He deemed the state. We said we need to understand what is the state, because I think that is the problem. And what is the state? what is the role of the state and what is the role of a minister? Because here is the Minister of Justice. And if you see recently on the case of Wange and the recent minister, the current Minister of Justice, Ziyambi, he's also the one. So we need to understand even from beginning it was Shinamasa as the Minister of Justice. Now on the case of Wange and Zimbabwe is Ziyambi as the Minister of Justice. What is the role of the Ministers of Justice in this case? Is it the state? They said from the beginning 2004, an individual or a company owes the state. So if I owe you, Mr. Tech, I cannot come to your house and say, I know you owe the state. I'm taking your wife because you owe the state. Yes, I'm coming to divest your rights, your property rights, because you owe the state. Is a state an individual? Is a state a group of people? What is the state? So I think I need to understand from you, Mr. Tech and Mr. Mawere, what is the state? And what is the role of the state? What is the role of the minister in this case? Why the minister? Why putting the company, SM putting the company, Wange putting the company Zimbabwe, under the judiciary, under administration? Because how can you divest my rights and you appoint someone from Norway as an administrator to run the company, to run my property, to take over my wife, someone to do that? It's impossible. So this issue, it has to do with, from 2004, it was something to do with the SMM. But up to today, after many companies fall victim of this law, is the issue of constitutionalism and the rule of law and the issue of property rights. There's no property rights in Zimbabwe. And this law to me is a draconian law because there is no a law under this world in any democratic order, a law that can divest the shareholders their property rights. There's no such a law. The law is draconian in nature and must be repealed. And it's our role as the people of Zimbabwe to say the laws of this nature must be repealed. And the so-called new dispensation has been saying Zimbabwe is open for business. How can Zimbabwe open for business when there is no property rights in the country? Where there is still, the law is still in existence, the law which divests the people of their rights. So this is the tragedy. But my point is, I want to understand from the beginning the role of the state in all this and the role of the Minister of Justice. Why is the Minister of Justice have these powers to come to my wife and say, no, Elvis Mgari, or the state, we are taking your wife, we are giving your wife to Mr. Tech because you have failed, because you are owing the state. You have failed to pay, the state. So I think I need to understand on this on these issues before moving forward.
That's a very vague law, and I think by calling it vague, it's a very careful term that I've been just thinking about, because if you are found to be owing the state, this I think this is the foundational issues that we need to start talking about before I personally want to actually attack and misunderstand the whole act. At what point do they need to arrive and say you are owing the state or you are state indebted? Do we agree that at any other point a certain company actually owed the state, or it was indebted to the state, or was then now ruled to be insolvent to the state? Because I think for every reactive law, there's a causative one. I'm trying to understand and establish the causative part of it. Are we first in agreement that there's been a case that they say, well, we have reached to this point because either we have all agreed that you are indebted to the state, or you have proven beyond any reasonable doubt to be insolvent, hence now this law has to be applied? For lack of understanding of the history of the law, I think I'll throw it back to you, gentlemen, on the panel. Do we agree that there are companies, SMM, Air Zimbabwe, Zimre, and Wange National, Wange Colliery? Is there a point of agreement or a common ground that says, yes, we are state indebted, before we move to the remedies? I'm posing this one as a question to you.
Yeah, I think you have a point. You have a point. The point was raised by Mkoma Masimba and Elvis. The first thing is, what is indebtedness? Before you get to what is the pregnancy, who is the sperm from? You must be pregnant with something that you got.
I've always loved your analogies, but go ahead.
Well, indebtedness is the state of owing. State of owing. It is not owing. Because you may say, I owe you, and I dispute that you owe me. So you just can't wake up and say, you owe me, without testing whether actually there's an existence of a relationship between the two parties.
That's the point.
I can't claim paternity, and I don't know the person who is claiming that the sperm is mine. So there must be a test. And the two parties cannot test. Do you agree?
Yeah.
That the debtor and creditor cannot test because they are already part of the dispute. So they have to go to a third party to establish the existence of this relationship of debtor to creditor.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go, you can't say because you owe me money, you owe me money. That becomes the law. In a constitutional democracy, you must go before an independent and impartial court to establish first the existence of a relationship that can qualify to be described as indebted. Is that correct?
Yeah, technically, yes. You know, I thought this was just an issue of common ground and knowledge for people to then say, I'm indebted to you. It shouldn't be debatable unless if they're very weird, ulterior motives towards this. Can somebody get to a point where you owe someone and you don't know you owe someone?
Yeah,
can you get
paid money that was stolen by the creditor? Let's say I sent money, somebody diverted it and didn't credit my account. And in my records, I will have bank statements showing that I did pay, but because of the creditor's sloppy books, there's no record of payment. And second, the quantum of that indebtedness. I may argue that I owe you 1 million and you argue that you owe me 5 million. So I can't unilaterally and arbitrarily say you owe me 5 million. So that's a dispute that has to be determined. Are we together on that one?
I'm following. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Mawere, just out of interest, allow me to be very unfair and crude to you. Do you agree that you directly or indirectly owed state or state-controlled entity?
No, if there was owing, then you don't need a law because you have proof. You can't say I need a law for pregnancy. To say I want the the sperm donor to prove pregnancy. You just go to court and say, you owe me, you entered into a contract, these are public funds. So if you owe the state, then there must be a source of the funds.
Correct.
Yeah. So why would you need a law to protect you when you're already protected by a law of general application? The Companies Act protects you. Any company must be established in terms of the Companies Act. So how can you be a company under a different law?
Okay, you're very clear there on the application.
This shows how bogus this law is, because I think we need to agree, Mr. Mawere, that do you need would a creditor ideally need the assistance of a law that did not exist at the time when indebtedness was created? Do we need is there need for a creditor to, because this law was not there the time when indebtedness was created? The law was not there. So now we need, now a creditor needs a law which was not there before. Just now, it is now I know that you owe me. I have to invoke so that I come up with the law. But from the beginning, this law, when we sat down, you and me, we were two, there was no that third part. Now the third part is coming and it's now a law.
Yeah, but
is it possible?
Yeah, if you are a company, you are a company. If you are a creditor, you are a creditor. And the rights of creditors are protected in terms of the Constitution. You don't need another law to give protection to a bona fide creditor.
Yes.
And any other question on that, on indebtedness? Is there any question on indebtedness?
So on what grounds, sorry, Ms. Mawere, on what grounds are they alleging you are indebted as SMM? On what grounds is the state alleging indebtedness?
You are a journalist. You are a journalist, and this is Taunzwane BhukuReBenzi. We are brought here by a person who is insane by all standards. So if you are a journalist, who should that question be directed to?
Mkoma Mazimba.
Yes, what journalist?
You know what I was thinking.
Mkoma Mazimba, your simple understanding over this issue. I'm just trying to get down to the bottom of this issue. How does the state, or how is the state alleging that SMM owed them? I need to understand the indebtedness. At what point did SMM owe the state, and how?
My brother, everything starts with what you know, right? When you share what you know, I will learn from what you know. Then when I share with you what I know, you're also going to learn. So what do you know about this story?
I'm going, Masimba, you can't spin my question. I'm asking, this is exactly the same question that I'm asking you, because I'm trying to understand. We have clearly clarified the definition of indebtedness, which Honorable Mugare is also spoken in depth on. So I'm trying to understand that and have a prima facie case here. Was SMM indebted to the state? At what point was it, if it was? Are they alleging it owes or it was indebted to the state? And under what circumstance? That's what I'm trying to establish here.
My brother, BhukuReBenzi are really kumanya, my brother. Remember, some people like me, when I use I'm slow, shallow, and dumb. Right? So, tikala kumanya manje bya. Ndakubvunza imvunzo wakanaka kuti saka inini mukoma panya ini. Kwachini yakanaka ndakainyora ndakaibata ndakaicapture. Right? But kuti ndikunzwisise manje for you to understand me. I want to know inini mukoma, what do you know in general about this law, about this story? Is SMM as an example? What do you know? Or if you don't know, just say I do. Yeah.
As far as I know, state alleges that SMM owes state certain funds, and they got to a position whereby they say that because SMM you owe us funds or a loan, we are now activating a law that then empowers us to get that money, or maybe to get our interest via backdoor shares. So before I get myself involved and interested into condemning the law, which of course it's pretty, it's a no-brainer. I honestly think a lot should have been done, but I don't want to get there into critiquing the law and the actions that they have done, because when somebody really owes an issue of the data and the credit, that this thing could have been solved in a different way without anyone creating a law that then comes through, because that's a third part that's being involved now. This was a simple business transaction. But my question was, is there acknowledgement of the debt of it thereof, and was the state actually indebted, or it was a state-controlled or a state-owned company that was involved? That's what I'm trying to also establish here. So I'm posing this as a question because I don't have information.
My brother, remember, show in a Takawiri,
But
right?
remember the concept here. The concept, Mr.
Please,
Tech,
please, my brother, please.
Mr. Tech, the concept here for the law to be applied, for this law to be applied to a potential victim.
Vamugari, Tibomiri Amugari. Atidaro BhukuReBenzi. Tine structures, tine order. I'm the boss. I'm in charge. I'm the author. Right? Then itaita rombo rakanaka. Ndakwigiresha mwari yangu panapa mutunga mawiri as an example with this law. Right? So that means tine mafacts panapa. BhukuReBenzi tine mafacts. Saka timakada zvokumhanya zvomurikuita zvese. Hamuna chamunodzidza. Apa you uri journalist, BhukuReBenzi rine anger. I'm angry at people like you, but journalists. I challenge you the way you write stories. Right? BhukuReBenzi now get kunyorera mastori ake. But anyway, Benzi rati arina kutsima. So together let's engage. Okay? So ngatifambe mbichana mbichana. Chekutanga tabata pane law iripo yakaiswa. Right? Law payakaiswa iyi. Haina kubasic yakaiswa nyika yeZimbabwe muconstitution yedu. Handizvo tiwirirana vachina masa pakaiswa law apa tiwirirana apa. Right? Saka nichinge ya law haisi yangu yayedu tese by in Zimbabwe, right? That jurisdiction. So this law, munhu ari behind this law watiri kuziva at the moment, Patrick Chinamasa, and many others.
But you
So
can
Patrick
transfer
Chinamasa
the hotspot onto
tamutaura
their
because
iPad.
BhukuReBenzi is not any responsibility kuma citizens by then, right? So Nanas actually paying. Can you see BhukuReBenzi is even calling Chinamasa uripi? Isn't this the right time to engage with these such things? Then lessons can be learned so that it can be repeated.
Job, you know,
but it's like
just a little extra cash in
you
the
see,
pocket.
you journalist, you are Zimbabwe, look at Australia.
I know.
Chinamasa ngara paneti doni wako, but you try to Chinamasa nako kupo homework.
But I want to
You want to come and masimba pa BhukuReBenzi. Hands we have to put under
in that business.
journalist kakupo homework ya wani text, right? Please in the portal. Right, because you can do understand you. Uri background ndiwe. Uri journalist. Ukatadza kuti tauro kuna Chinamasa. Ndoda question journalist ucha kaita sei. My network is wanamira kushi. So basically this BhukuReBenzi rine a lot. Can you see? But it is to take an agenda. Right, saka bvumira kuti law iripo, right? Saka this law had to take out yaka affect ani. But this law yakutargeta ma companies arunzi ane mari dzedu, right?
I know.
Remember the word
Scales, I know
indebted
everything.
discuss kazvo. So ane mari dzedu pane insolvent. Vari kutadza kuti bhadhara mari dzedu. Right? No people say that law. Andizve. Yatargeta ma company ndepe yakabatwa pabatwa SMM in 2004. So SMM ndiani SMM yacho. Saka pane another lesson yakasimba. The company.
You gain more by doing what
ownership,
you were thinking.
Director.
Yes.
Shareholding.
I know.
Right? But pa mbenge pa BhukuReBenzi tokuti that SMM ndiye mawere. Right? But mawere tapa go deeper. was a shareholder.
If you profited out of the first one,
Mawere iye
keep
pachake
going,
SMM
keep
yacho anoti kudia about SMM yake.
out of the first three,
Iya
you're
kuti
going to
aiwa
end up
kakomana. This
profit.
company, it was a commercial transaction.
Yeah.
So that's
Right?
the only
Apa
deal
pasina
I was
hurumende
saying.
apa. Right? Ko hurumende azopinda paiko pa
And
private
something else
business
to pick it
remote.
up.
Correct.
Takuzvifuna pacho. Topa kupinda mutemo wayo wakashandisa wewe. Saka it means hurumende yedu inokwanisa kutopinda bedroom mako kaiwe. Kana ichikwanisa kuti yapinda private remote ingokuti iwewe nemari yedu iwewe. Woti akomana katine mari yenyu, mari yacho ndiipi? Amuna kana any proof. Woti mapepo kangu ese ndinawo. Ndakatenga company iri apa ndega. Right? Hurumende yedu yakuno capture money, yakuta dictatorship money. Uyakatoka komana about externalization. Takwenda kimsi tipenda kumberi mberi, but I'm just trying to show you the framework BhukuReBenzi racho. Then my subscription fee or kubvunza comment section is only $30 per year. Example, for you to be part of this show, uri pa camera panapa, it's $30 per year. No subscription. And I was saying that it's okay. Tinongoona na comments mama. Anyway, Mr. Mawere, I will let you speak for now. Takuboterera Mawere.
Your question, what is your question?
And the other thing is,
My question, Dr. Mawere.
No,
Okay, go ahead. Makutora na mege. Takubota mute.
What is your question?
My question was, do we agree that there is a point where SMM confirms or agrees to have owed the state in the first place? Before we start speaking about insolvency or indebtedness, was that point ever reached whereby it was agreed or acceptable that it owes the state?
It was never, there was never a contract with the state. There was never anything owed to the state.
Okay, but now I think Mr. Tech, let me, sorry for the interjection there.
No, go ahead. I think
we need to understand one thing here, Mr. Tech. Firstly, for the law to be applied, this reconstruction, a potential victim had to be indebted to the state. It must be a must. A victim must be indebted to the state. So, on the case of SMM, this was that a potential victim had been indebted to the state. This was deemed to be insufficient to allow or to give room for the creditor. Who is the creditor? But then the creditor was the state, for the creditor to intervene or the state to intervene. So what they did that time is they created an impression. What was required was to create the impression that the state, by giving itself superior credit status, could unilaterally and classify a victim as insolvent without involvement of the courts. Because the court was supposed to determine this thing. But what they did is, so that there is no room for the court to intervene, they created an impression. The impression was actually created. Because remember, the state here has been deemed as a superior credit. It was given a superior credit status. So they had to create an impression that now the person is insolvent. So without the intervention of the court, the state moves straight and declare and classify a victim, in this case SMM, as insolvent, without the involvement of the courts, without mentioning what is the law, because it's also protected by the law. Because if you have gone to the courts was going to determine otherwise. The courts were going to come up with the definition of insolvency and also coming up with the definition of indebtedness, the level of indebtedness
And what determines these people to say you have failed to pay? So they create this impression and make the state the only superior creditor, and classify the victim, the potential victim, as insolvent without approaching the court. So this is what happened to SMA in 2004. It was a planned thing. They really planned it.
In fact, Toneo, just look at on the screen. Section 2. What does it say?
This act shall apply to all state-indebted companies, including those formed or incorporated before the date of commencement of this act, and regardless of when they became indebted to the state. So it was actually applied in reverse.
Yeah. So
do you still want me to? Yeah.
What does that tell you?
It tells you that obviously when they created this act, they had victims on their checklist. They had clear targets.
So it means whenever that indebtedness occurred, it was not indebtedness to the government. It means that this law is called, it has retrospective application.
Correct.
So it means even before you were born, the law must apply to you. So how could I have been indebted to something that happened before the law was put in place?
You cannot technically break a law that is never instituted. You can't be caught outside of a law which is not within your jurisdiction. So you can't. I think even by application, if this had to be challenged in any sane court of law, that part of the law or the whole act in total deserves to be struck down, because you cannot then apply a law in reverse, because it is illogical. I can't tell you that we are creating a law that finds you guilty of a crime that you did before the law was in operation. Even a student of law will tell you that is not applicable.
So if you now know this, then you know the act itself, the idea behind the act was mischievous.
Definitely. It reads out clearly.
Yeah. So now that you know, have you understood what Mkwama Masimba was saying? He's saying you as a journalist, you have asked very good questions. That if the government was a creditor to SMM, why was this law required? And if you have papers which show that the government had a claim, why wasn't that claim processed in the ordinary course of business? Yeah.
Which is very weird.
Yeah. Why would you need a law? So he's saying, as a journalist, after this show, can you call Mr. Shinamasa to say there's a dispute as to whether SMM was indebted to the government? If so, which division of government needed the protection of this law?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like you fight the son brings the father.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is on that basis alone, maybe just as a start, to understand the spirit behind the law, which is what Mugari was saying. He was saying, let's go to the root cause. The idea behind it is what is more instructive than what happened. And instead of asking the person who was indebted or impregnated by somebody, why don't we ask the sperm holder whether there was any relationship with this woman? If so, why would you need the law to claim paternity?
Yeah.
So as a first step, I don't know whether for today you understand one departure point.
Clearly, I am following. I am following.
So if we were to close it on that question alone, that this is part one, first to understand what indebtedness is, what insolvency is, what a company is. And you have all those words: state, indebted, insolvent companies act. So if you are indebted, do you have to be insolvent? Yeah.
Well, being insolvent then becomes a state of you not being able to pay, but being indebted, that does not necessarily declare that. No.
So there are two tests. One test to establish indebtedness, another is to establish insolvency.
Correct.
So the two cannot be combined into one.
True.
They cannot.
But the act itself assumes once you are indebted, you are insolvent.
No, it can't be. But who is not indebted? That's why every business on earth requires a loan or takes a loan. So if you're going to be taking a loan from a state-owned bank, for example, like CBZ, does that mean that then you should be going under administration?
Yeah. I may have your sperm, but doesn't mean I'm pregnant. Because pregnancy requires a test.
Yeah.
So insolvency requires a test. The court must satisfy itself.
At least they have to establish that insolvency.
The insolvency has to be a test. Inability to pay maintenance cannot be imposed.
But still, I'm just getting, I'm having a keen interest. You cannot, Mr. Mawere, you cannot illegalize indebtedness. Which organization has never been indebted? Because once you actually get funds,
that is why you had me saying they created an impression so that the courts will not be involved in this case, because they knew that when the courts are involved, the courts were going to ask, and what is your definition of insolvency and how much is being owed. It also shows that they made the state to be above board as the superior creditor, number one. And it clearly shows that in the country itself, there's no separation of powers. We have three arms of the state: the judiciary, the executive, the legislatures. The existence of this law, even from the beginning, clearly shows that there's no separation of powers in Zimbabwe. And that is the critical concept which the government of the day is failing to understand, the concept of separation of powers. So that is why we see, even if you go to court, the court, by then the court was not going to determine whether the ASM was failing to pay back the money or not, because they said no, there's no respect of the rule of law, there's no separation of powers. We can make the state a superior creditor. No one is going to ask that.
Gary, you are now saying they. What I'm saying is, let's be specific, and there is an act that exists. and perhaps the people who authored the act are still alive.
Yeah.
And they can then explain what they intended to do. But all we can do is ask questions. And those questions, I think Toneo says, I was too young to know this. So I am a virgin in all this. And I'm just struggling to understand the combination of indebtedness and insolvency as in one sentence. And perhaps you and me, Mugari, we cannot answer for those people. As a journalist, if you have found something that is worth of probing, it's up to your own conscience to then take the step forward. And from what we have given, what Mugari has said, Toneo, is the only bona fide or professional journalist in this. Do you see something worthy of probing?
Definitely. I think the law, the act on its own, it is out of order. It's very unfortunate that this act has been running since 2004. We are now in 2020. 16 years down the line, we have had this act. And I think the most dangerous thing is this act can be used as a weapon, waiting for anyone else to be called state-indebtedness. So that means that we have a time bomb within ourselves, and it's going to be applied as and when the justice minister or the then justice minister deem fit, which makes it a very big problem, because still it's an act that we have, and it's a legal act, so to say. And I strongly feel that these are the part of the acts that we're supposed to be talking much about. I know as various media players, we've been speaking a lot about aligning our laws within the Constitution, and I think this act is very much unconstitutional. It's not only unconstitutional, it's also dangerous, and the motive of it as well, it's much more scary if we're then looking into such open-endedness that it has got and is being applied. I strongly feel that it calls for a lot of proactiveness, as also not just from the media perspective, but also from the legislator side as well. I honestly think that our honorable members of parliament from both floors should also find it within themselves to challenge such laws that they are either are completely repealed or they have a greater relook into them. Because if we are seriously going to be calling out for investors and various players to be coming through, and they are cognizant of such a law or such an act, this is where I've always argued with many people that what do we call lawful? Should we call something lawful because we have decided to call it lawful, or it's lawful because it is a law that is aligned within our constitution? We've got lots of wrong laws, so to say. But if a law is not aligned within our constitution, I think that law on its own it becomes unlawful. It is the role and the responsibility of our various members of parliament that debate these laws, so that they are actually repealed or relooked into, because that's a very dangerous act. We are only talking about SMM. We are talking about
okay, boys around. Thank you very much. We are closing up soon. Sabina, welcome to the show. Tiripa BhukuReBenzi, tine case study Zimbabwe law. Ni example SMM na Mr. Mawere.
Yes, 10 years later.
Sabina, what's your take?
Yes, a very good evening to you, good afternoon, and good morning to everybody. Mr. Mugari, how are you doing? I can't see the other gentleman there. What's his name?
I'll take care of it, then I'm free to finish what I want, however long I want.
Tonio from TechMag, he's a journalist, TechMag, online.
Oh, bless you. Nice to meet you, my brother. Well, what it is in any other, I'll take Mr. Mkoma Masimba's court. I'm damp, shallow, and slow. And I can see here I've got some well-pronounced gentlemen who speak in English affluently. But what the positive criticism I want to relate to you guys, Mkoma Masimba, if you could put your thing on pause, please, on mute. is that as I am shallow, dumb, and slow, sometimes I try to take information in my head, but my head can't absorb like my brains, especially when we talk things like legislation, constitution, law, honorables, and all those fancy words, right? The person we're speaking to here is most probably English, somebody who can speak English. It doesn't necessarily have to be white. So, what I'm seeing with the problem, it might not be your problem, but it's my problem. When I hear words like legislation, honorable in English sense, yeah, it puts me off because we are not speaking with mother tongue. We are not speaking in Shona. We are not speaking in Debele. We are not translating. Yes, I know there's so many languages in Zimbabwe, but at least we've got Ndebele, Shona, and English being a major one. There are times when Mr. Mawere and Mr. Mugari, you just have to explain these things in Shona so that a lot of people can comprehend what we're trying to say. I've got my father's maid. Yeah, I asked her to speak to my partner with English. She said to me, Sisi Sabina, I cannot speak English. Ndinonyara. So we must try and cater for most languages and tribes in Zimbabwe. So here we could have a Ndebele person who is translating what Mr. Mawere is saying. We could have a Shona person who is translating what Mr. Mawere while he's speaking in English. But the depth of English is a bit too much for just a simple Zimbabwean. So I don't know if 1873 could fix that as well. Even if we don't have a Ndebele translator, at least Mr. Mawere can speak in Shona a bit. At least Mr. Mugari can also speak in Shona zvinhu zvavari kutauresha, because pane vamwe vanhu vada kungonzwa neshona kuti zvipinde. Maybe this is why we have a problem in Zimbabwe, because when Mr. Mnangagwa speaks in English, it puts me off straight up. If he spoke in Shona or in other languages, I would be happy.
Thank you
Mr.
very much, Sabina.
Mugabe, wait, let me just finish. Mr. Mugabe, right? Ex-President Mugabe, when he spoke his English, that's it. You just switch off. But zvavaitaura, dai vaitaura neshona, chirudzi chavo vane translator vechindebere or English. Everybody will understand. Can you believe I've only watched 3 videos of Mr. President Mugabe? His soul rest in peace. Yeah. 3 videos chatted at 41 years old. Thank you, Mkoma Masimba.
Okay, thank you very much, Sabina. All right, gentlemen, as we close up. Right, thank you very much for your participation. And again, guys, panel law in Zimbabwe. That law, yakanohita or yakabata Shabani Mashawa mine. Tinava mawira chiri wapenyu vari pano. But palaw ipapapa pane zita vachina masa ndatikumbarira munin'ina wangu uyu ndamupa homework sejournalist utsvaga wachina masa uchindipa mafeedback handizveri munin'ina, so that
I think it'd be very interesting to have him on our shows, because these are the people who are behind the crafting of such laws. I think it'd be very interesting to actually have him on the show.
When invite Achina Masa, we're using your journalist skills, right? Invitation yako, guy attractive. BhukuReBenzi apa destroy moon. To not build them bridges, not a wall. I build bridges here, right? Then for you young men, since you didn't know you were young, you're learning too. Then you also share with your friends what you have learned. Vamugari, asha dzenyu ndinazo ndazibata. You are angry, my brother, you're upset. But tikada kumhanya, tinoluza malessons akawanda. Tikafamba mbijana. Remember people like me, na Sabina Bururu wangu vari panapa. Tiri slow, shallow, and dumb. Right? Then amawere vachiri vapenyu. Vamudare kuti ava pa retirement age. Taita like BhukuReBenzi. Tavaloka pano. Ndara iri botandara zvedu pano. Ichibodzitsawo zvamakasangana zvemuupenyu. Saka panapa muchiwaona every day na 1 p.m. Monday to Friday pashow yavo. BhukuReBenzi rakapinda ipapo. Comment section, komendai, but macomments enyu mamwe chaignore because BhukuReBenzi rine subscription $30. Amawira omukona ava kune C2C ripo zvakare. C2C for you to be a member $30. Ana Sabina vapinda panapa. Vapinda nekuti ane value kwandiri. BhukuReBenzi mune lesson ye value, right? saka zvadakukumbira panapa chakumbira umwe nomwe tipendere, but for now takumbira amawere vambotaura takanyarara vakuita summary yavo pa this show yataita.
Amawere vasati vataura, I just want to thank you. You just spoke in Shona, and when you started speaking Shona, Mr. Mugari, I personally think when we try and Mr. Mawere kutaura Shinishka, especially pa Facebook live social media, let's try kutaura nerurimi rwaamai Ndebele and all that languages. Pamuningi makunonyora journalism yenyu monyora nechirungu. Pamunozounza achina masa pano totaura chirungu. But kana tichitaura Shona zvinoita kuti tese tive involved on Ndebele. I don't know how we can sort that out, but chirungu chacho chaamawereka, the only thing chingonzwa is SMM. SMM. The other English, it just gives me headaches. Saka mukatitauritaure Shona, mukatauritaure chirungu, mutitauritaure Shona, mukatauritaure. This is why Zimbabwe is not where it is, because we are speaking because we are speaking chirungu. Mr. Mnangagwa, President Mnangagwa vakataura English. I don't even hear one sentence. But Murungu akanduza chirungu apa, I can hear everything.
Okay, Sabina, Sabina.
All right. And the law is in English. It's not in Shona. It's not in
It can still be translated.
Okay. I mean, you were speaking. Can I also speak?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So there are people who are watching, who are investors in Zimbabwe. To make Zimbabwe great, it doesn't require only Shona-speaking people. It doesn't require tribalism. It requires every one of us. And sometimes the people who don't look like us, who don't speak our language, are people who can make Zimbabwe get back on its feet. So it's good that somebody wants to be tribal in terms of talking, but the platform is open. There are people who don't speak the language that we are born speaking to or about. It doesn't mean that other people cannot build their own subsystems or groupings where they can discuss this law. The law has been there for 16 years. And it's not a new law that one would say it just happened yesterday, or we are trying to mobilize somebody to take action. No. If you are happy with the law, that's fine. If you are not happy with the law, it's fine. You can take the next step by talking about it. So thank you, Mkwama Masimba, for hosting the show. First, to keep the promise to Toneo I was talking to, and you just happened to be part of the conversation, and then you understood that you was an editor-in-chief of an online publication. And then you asked him about the Reconnect, and he said he expressed an interest. And we had agreed to have this show last week between the two of you. And I've been talking to Toneo for a long time, but I thought I'll be the West ambassador to talk about the law that affects me, because then people will think I'm trying to use them, to lobby them, to turn against their own government, which was not the case. So if there are things that you notice, and you as a citizen of Zimbabwe, you are entitled to do something. There are people who have been following us on these shows for the last 4 or 5 years, but they've done nothing. They have known these facts, and they still come here to ask the same question they've been asking for the past 4 to 5 years. And we should actually take it upon ourselves to congratulate those who are mad or who are called mad, who write a book in the eyes, in the mind of somebody who is insane, so that we can be able to learn from it and to bring people together. And that's why it's important that Toneo, you are here, Honorable Mugari is here to share his own insights so that together we can be able to say, this is what we know, and those who want to invest in Zimbabwe, they may be confronted with this law, not today, but tomorrow. And if you want to make Zimbabwe great, then it is your duty to speak the language that you don't like, so that you reach maybe 1 billion people.
Mr. Mawere, objection. You talked about tribalism to make me as if I'm a tribalist, but I'm not saying you're making me to be, or to say the words we don't. How many people are watching us right now? So in less than 2 minutes, if you speak in Shonaka, it will reach a higher audience. The more people we have, the more voice we have.
There are people who may watch this video 100 years from now. They are not here. We are not doing it to attract people to follow. I'm not here to attract people to follow me. This is not a race.
I am here to fix the country. So if we're fixing the country with 4 people, we're 16 million people. We need to try and understand where are we going wrong? What is our audience? Can we have a Ndebele person, a Shona person, and an English person? Like I said, what you said in 2 minutes, yeah? We'll cover 1 hour, 45 minutes in Shona. It's all about Zimbabwe for now.
Why don't you fix Zimbabwe on your own terms? Because nobody stops you. I will be following you while you are fixing Zimbabwe when it's fixed. But this law is there. All we are trying to do is this.
But at least, Mr. Mawere, you should say you have taken my grievance. You know, and we'll look into it.
Yes, I understand. It doesn't stop us from taking this conversation to another level where you convene it.
I'm sorry,
okay, the other thing, and I wasn't aware it's a show for subscribed members only. Imagine I had shared my contacts by Muna asiri kufanana 30 US. Mkoma Masimba, over to you. Can you explain to us what this 30 US is for? Again, I'm a personal trainer. What does it give me? What do I gain from paying $30 which Senior is complaining about? Can you explain, Mkoma Masimba, again, what this $30 is about? Remember, nurses are getting paid $30 in the hospitals of Zimbabwe. So please just tell me, Mkoma Masimba, what is the $30 which are tapua asatize nema contact ake? Thank you.
Okay, Sabina, thank you very much. Sabina, chokutanga BhukuReBenzi chokudzidza tese kuva organized, right? Wachanguva yako yekutaurawo, vamwe vakata nguva yavo. Ndapota hangu haikona kuhakira ona tine mufana wedare pano mimi na Tino is a journalist. Tina honorable vari pano zvakare. Asina kuzati honorable, very sorry papa.
Bless you, honorable.
Sabina, ndapota hangu bhururu. Iwe bhururu wangu pano, uri BhukuReBenzi. Tachidzidzira chinhu 1. Inguva yako yekubvunza amawere ma-questions auri kuda. Especially tine topic atinayo. Pane zvavataura so far, oro zvaungada hako. Usati hasha, ukabvunza, vanokupindura. Ndokupa 5 questions. Andika, vachakupindura. Omira wakadaro, topa umwe munhu womukana. Toboedza kudara ndikabhururu. Wakati hasha, uchaluza ma-questions ako. Nyatsobvunza.
I'm a black woman, African woman. I speak with passion.
Sabina, go ahead. Your first question. Go pick 5
My
questions.
first question is, what is C2C?
Okay, I think I didn't release the other people because this conversation.
All right, Sabina, Sakamawere vakuda for 1-on-1 now. Saka
If you
journalist na
what you're trying to do, then we can say to Toneo, who came here as a journalist, to say, look, I want to come here to talk about this Reconstruction Act, so that I better understand it. If I have to be angry, I'll be angry on my own terms. If I have to do something to pick up phone calls, I'll do it on my own. But at least, thank God, Mkoma Masimba has given me an opportunity to dig deeper, because I'm busy dealing with other issues. This is not the only issue that is on the table in Zimbabwe today. They have to juggle between many things, spin many plates. So let us also be respectful. If the person says C2C, I don't want to hear about it, there's no need to repeat it. There are many things.
Mawere, please answer the question. Some of us are shallow, dumb, and slow. I've just asked again.
I've been asking the same question.
Yes, Ms. Mawere. It took me 10 years to pass equations. The 10th year I passed it.
Can we have a show on C2C with you? On
But
your show,
I've been asked to just ask 5 questions quick.
How come as a guest? I don't know why I'm going.
Here on our comment section, we've got people like Signoro and Mufudzi who are also complaining.
Mufudzi, you know, Signoro, you know, and Signoro knows more than I know. Mufudzi knows more than I know. So I have nothing to add. I have been talking to these people for the last 5 years.
Yeah, Masimba has muted me, Mr. Mawere.
Sabina, thank you so much for a bunch of energy that you have exhibited there. But I think in the interest of the show and the conversation that we've been having here, it becomes a little bit unfair then to hijack it and then you take us to C2C, which some of us were not invited to speak about C2C. We are not even aware of what C2C is all about. But I honestly think that if this is a very pertinent issue and topic for you guys to discuss about, fair enough. I'm not in a position to stop that. You guys, you can just chew this bone down on a completely different show, and then you can have a show down on C2C, which we are honestly not privy to. But I think for us, we have had a very interesting and an exciting moment to discuss the Reconstruction Act, see how it was crafted, and I've also managed to understand the minds behind the Reconstruction Act, and more importantly, what dangers it actually poses to us as a nation and potential would be investors. These are issues that we're supposed to be discussing and talking about here as various Zimbabweans in the interest of business and growing our business environment that attracts more businesses and more importantly, that protects and respects our property rights and property laws here in Zimbabwe. I think these are the conversations that we're supposed to be having. I fully appreciate you, BhukuReBenzi, Mkoma Masimba, and Mr. Mchunga Mawere for actually having me, guys here. I think more importantly, we need to enrich this conversation. Let's get the right stakeholders. Let's have more parliamentarians. And more importantly, the ministers of justice themselves start speaking about this. I strongly believe these are the people who are involved in turning around the legal systems in Zimbabwe. Some of these things, probably they just need a certain conversation and they have the right people to talk about them. And then we can have them raised in the parliament. I think the parliament is where we are supposed to be having much of these discussions so that we have got people calling out for a relook into such statutes and laws so that we do not have any other business, be it yours, mine, and those to come, to wake up one day finding out that we are state-indebted. I think we need to look into these things seriously with a much more broader business mind. So I appreciate the conversation. I'll call it the first part of the conversation. I'm looking forward to the next part of this conversation. And more importantly, I'll personally be challenged to have various arms, specifically the ministers and various members of parliament, especially in the justice and legal parliamentary portfolio, to have the chairmen or the MPs in these portfolios to stir such a conversation around such issues. I'm sure it would have a much more better and bigger national impact.
Thank you very much, Honorable, for speaking. Yeah, obviously, Mataure, but apana chandanzwa. For somebody, anogara nemurunguka, apana chandanzwa. If the truth be said, nangonzi watu mchazochedza maparliament ozoya pano and this and that again. Dzimweni dzenguva pota mchiti mukataura kachirungu, motaura nekashona, mukataura kachirungu, motaura nekashona. Whatever language is yours, but I didn't hijack anything. I just came to give in positive criticism. Kuti panapa pane vanhu vari affluent, but poto yomutiketa for the shallow, dumb, and slow. So I really didn't hijack it. C2C is still the same theme here. The reason why I spoke about C2C, because we've got my respectable brother, Sekuru Vangu Signoro, who has his own points. He can't afford, and he's talking about it here. Nai Signoro, Musiruku Pinama comments, ake, I wouldn't have spoken about the subscription. But then I was asked by Mkoma Masimba to ask Mr. Mawere 5 precise questions. I just asked, what is C2C? It turned into a paragraph. Thank you.
My
Sabina.
Sabina, I did not mean to undermine you or undermine your thought set. Neither did I mean
Sabina, so that if you just are a Panapanama, we don't worry pan. Then you will show coming
No,
soon.
bless you, my honorable. We love you so much, honorable. Bless you, bless you. Thank you so much.
No, you mean as
Yes.
well, journalist.
I wish I was an honorable.
Journalist into journalist, we're all human beings, darling.
Honorable,
No, I think honorable is gone. He dropped some time ago. So I think let us.
Welcome. Hello?
Which one? No, Apana Ripo, Pane
Okay.
BhukuReBenzi.
Okay,
They are
so open line now.
Yeah, so I think we can leave it there so that we can then have part 2, part 3, just to talk about this. And there are other people who are watching, who are investors, who are keen to know about this law. So we would do injustice to them if we converted it into another show, you see, to see when we have more time to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sakatakuta close up. Signor Nagava Tauri Kudara. Signor. Paninyema $30. When I go after this show, I will open an Sabina. Signor Tsanga Sabina and Koma Masimba. Thank you so much, Mawiri.
Koma Masimba, I'm going to pay for seniors $30, right? You didn't explain to me what it's all about, but it's all good. But what if senior can't afford? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mawere, and thank you to all the guests.
Okay, bye. Thank you for watching BhukuReBenzi. Koma Masimba. I'm looking for my number.